Yes, it's across the board. And people hate it. Always has to be like, oh, and not all women are like that. Anytime somebody, if that's the first thing that comes to your mind, by the way, if I'm saying something and it seems like, oh, they're beating up on girls. Oh, those guys on Fresh and Fit, they just go on there and they shit all over the women. If that's your first thought, or if your first thought is, well, yeah, women are bad, but men do it bad too, blah, 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 blah. Okay, you know what? You've just shown me evidence of where your mental point of origin is. So if I relate some sort of information, something about like women's innate evolved nature, or if I even say something about men's nature for that matter as well, but if I'm saying something about women's nature and it's unflattering, if your first response is, well, ooh, men do it too, and worse, well, what about men? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. You know what that means to me? Your mental point of origin is not you. It's on women. What will women think if I agree with what Rollo was saying, or if I don't speak up, if I don't balance this out, balance the equation somehow, make it right in the universe, karma, right? Yin yang. No, what that means is women are your first priority. What women will think, what your mom will think, what your wife will think, what any future girlfriend you might possibly imaginatively ever have. Like, you want to know where the source of like white knighting comes from? It comes from not being your mental point of origin and making women your mental point of origin. So when guys come at me and they talk shit about MLD saying, oh, he worships pussy, blah, blah, blah. No, you know who worships pussy? The guy whose first impression is, well, he said something unflattering about women's nature. I better speak up. That guy worships pussy way more than MLD does, way more than anybody in the red pill does. Because your first inclination, the first thought to jump in your head is, I better say something to balance this out for the little ladies, because if I don't, then they're gonna feel bad at the end of this fucking discussion. That's on you. That's a guy who worships pussy. The guy whose mental point of origin is, well, I better think about what mom is gonna say. I better think about what wifey's gonna say. Happy wife, happy life. That guy is not his mental point of origin, to the point where he can't even have a conversation without it being the first thing to jump in his head. And that's what I mean by mental point of origin, by the way. It's not something you're cognitively thinking of. That default to that. It's your second nature. So the guy who, the Simps, exactly. The guy who wants to balance the equation, that guy is more focused on the feminine than MLD, than me, than anybody who you think is like shitting on women on these podcasts. Trust me on that one, because they're not thinking about chicks. In fact, they're bold enough to push against the meta. They're bold enough to say, you know what? I know that by saying this, I'm going to be unpopular. I know they're going to call me a misogynist. I know they're going to, there's a whole world arrayed against me, but I'm going to say this anyways. That guy, his mental point of origin definitely would have to be his self. That's the guy who isn't worshiping pussy. The guy who worships pussy is the guy who wants to balance things out, who wants to believe in the blank slate. Women can do anything that men can do. You know why you think that? Because you are not your mental point of origin.